Yeah, everybody, my name is Lowell, and welcome to the channel. So we've got a reaction video today. This is what the rest of the world thinks of Americans. So I know they get a bit of a bad rap. Let's jump in and let's have a look at this one, shall we?
Can someone tell me why Americans always leave the AC on, even if they go out all day? This question we saw last night posted on an online forum by a disgruntled hotel owner.
I don't know, because I've done that before as well. I live in Queensland and it is bloody hot. It is hot, it is humid. I can understand 100% why. Easy. Okay.
What followed were reams of insults, generalizations, arguments, peppered with the odd, intelligent, and temperate comment. That's par for the course online, but it's fortunate we saw that so soon before writing the show. We saw comments along the lines of Americans are just arrogant and ignorant, as if 325.7 million people were molded into one monolithic entity. Then we saw, I'm American, and I leave the AC on as long as I like. I pay for it. See, people said, they all think the world owes them something. What about the environment? Driving around in their big cars and SUVs, throwing out more trash than anyone, and pretending to care about environmental disasters. This went on and on.
I would probably check that trash one. I don't know if Americans do the most trash. I don't know.
With people casting aspersions against an entire nation. Others, of course, weren't so bad, calling out people for having a very limited understanding of a country and its cultural and intellectual diversity. But can we make such generalizations? Could we argue that many Americans embrace their individuality and their right to do what they want? They paid for that darn AC, and they will darn well do what they want with it. The fact is, we all sometimes are culpable of whittling down the world to a manageable size that fits within our sometimes uneducated preconceptions. We cannot say all Americans are this or that, but perhaps there might be underlying character traits to a culture, something data, evidence, or experience can provide us with. But in the end, most of us don't rely on data or objective reasoning and rely instead on an image, a construction that we've created out of a wanton bias. Number 5. Arrogance. As we said, much of the world thinks Americans are arrogant. You don't have to look hard online to find this out. We hear that they like nothing more than to plant flags around their houses, and they go on and on about how great their country is, and by association that must mean how great they are, even though they often didn't do that much to claim this superiority. As the American comedian Doug Stanhope once alluded, some flag wavers are like imperial hangers-on. Anyway, some people say this is why Americans are often so loud, and don't worry, there are plenty of articles and forum questions asking why American voices tend to drown out others, say when abroad. We might ask if this has anything to do with that sense of patriotism, the great country, greatest, best in the
world. I think the voice thing is because I know I grew up with a lot of American TV shows, so instantly recognize an American accent, couldn't tell you probably where they're from in America, but definitely maybe you're more in tune with that, so that's why they sound louder. That could definitely be the thing. I don't get the flags thing. I mean, are you not allowed to be proud of your country? We have plenty of flags here in Australia too. Guy just down the road has an Australian flag up. It's just like, okay, proud of where you live and proud of your country. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
The world, no doubt, better than anyone else, and also the entitlement that comes from a place that espouses expressive individualism at all costs. The loud American is a much better known phrase than the great piece of literature called the quiet American. Forums are full of people talking about these loud people, demanding, expatiating, bragging, complaining, extolling the merits of good old America, and forcing some poor European into a quiet internal violence, wondering all the time, do they not realize they're being obnoxious? Where's the self-awareness? Hell yes, go America! Now this isn't of course true for all Americans, it's a stereotype, but it exists. If you don't believe us, check it out for yourself. You could be reading for a year, even though it's fantastically unrealistic and arrogant to think the stereotype is true for all people in the USA. What we hope to do is point out such stereotypes, and we can discuss them after the show. Now, on to the next. Number 4. Ignorance. All countries attempt to imbue a sense of nationalism in their people. It's how they get soldiers to fight wars, to believe in the country, to create a sense of belonging and cooperation. But the nation's attempts to foster ignorance in people? Well, you might have read some critics saying the American school system is purposely trying to dumb down its citizens. They want workers, robots, not creative, critical, skeptical kids that might ask too many questions. Hail the idiocracy! We're not saying this is true, it's a criticism leveled by some people, but we can say that much of the world thinks Americans are ignorant. Well, to be frank, most of those shows pointing out American ignorance regarding their own nation are made on home turf. But you'll find people outside of the USA saying things like they don't know anything about history, not even their...
I mean, I must admit, I've done a reaction video to them as well. I guess there definitely is a lot of that around. There is a lot of people highlighting that in, especially on YouTube videos. So I don't know if that's a select few. I mean, 330 million people in a country. You can't go off a handful of people, that's for sure. So, interesting. Okay.
their own. They believe only in their own heroic narrative and think the French Revolution is a roller coaster. We're told Americans are so insular, they are out of their depth when they walk out of the front door. But is any of this true? Listen to this. There's a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Those words were spoken by the American scientist Isaac Asimov. But the fact that those words were his means there's a contradiction in terms. America is constantly ablaze with creative thinking. There is a daily conflagration of innovation, thoughtful introversion, skepticism, groundbreaking scientific research, world-changing fiction, reasonable, intelligent discourse appearing in blogs, podcasts, etc. But it turns out a lot of people, including inside America and outside, believe a culture of ignorance is propagated there. Is there any data to support this? Yeah, there seems there is. The Big Think wrote a story in 2013 with the title, "Why Are Americans So Ignorant?" And indeed, within the article is a lot of compelling evidence that many, in some cases most Americans, know very little about how their own country works, or worked, and don't even ask about the rest of the world. Weak civics curricula, partisan propaganda, and misplaced priorities of the mainstream media all share some blame for American ignorance, the writer says. But we feel it goes deeper than that. We'll let you decide. Number 3, positiveness.
That's growing up in Australia, we have a lot of influence from America, TV shows, movies, etc., culture. But I think if you lived in America and everything you hear about is American anyway, why would you need to worry about the rest of the world? Just saying from what I listening to. So, I don't know if it's because it's ignorant or it's just that mostly for the last, 50, 60, 70 years, a lot of cultural happenings have been centered around America anyway. Big movies, TV shows, all that kind of culture coming out of America. It's all kind of, has been around America. So of course Americans are just going to, concentrate on that, So interesting. Okay.
And friendliness. We've really been bashing America, so now we'll look at a positive stereotype as equally untrue for all Americans. We must add, though, that when it comes to generalizations of countries, many people harbor a negative bias. How many of you have ever uttered the words, "Oh, I really don't like the English, the French, the Indian, the Chinese"? Just add your nation to the list. We recently saw a comment made by a young American who has gone to study in the UK. He couldn't wait to get out, saying the atmosphere for the most part was grey, unfriendly, and intimidating.
I can understand the grey. I lived in the UK for 10 years in the 2000s because some of the buildings are grey. They're all close together. The sky is grey. Pavement's grey. You get a lot of rainy days. I lived in Scotland, so we got a lot of rainy days. So I can understand that. You get back to Australia and it's, big blue skies and everything else. We've got much more room here, so everything kind of feels a little bit spread out. So I can understand the greyness, what he's saying. I can definitely understand that.
Maybe he just went to the wrong place. But one might argue that Americans are in general more open and positive than Brits. We might remember what the dry, wry British celebrity intellectual Stephen Fry said about his trip to the US when he made a show about travel there. He said this sense of outgoing positivity he enjoyed, and he said it's something the Brits were missing. You can do it in America, or at least many people are taught to think they can. While back,
I think the British have got a very sarcastic, very dry humor. Growing up with British parents, I was born in Scotland. I kind of understand that as well. You know, we have a very sarcastic, very dry sense of humor. I guess it's just the way that we've been brought up and parents have been brought up and whatever else. So even all the TV shows, you know, early British TV shows were that kind of dry humor as well too. So I can understand that. And if you're not used to that kind of overwhelming positivity and, you know, everybody smiling and stuff, you know, we smile in Australia, obviously. Britain, not so much. A little slower to smile, I think, from my experience of living there. So, interesting. Okay. Sometimes that positivity, I guess, can get a little too much, I guess.
back in Britain, perhaps the most downtrodden submit to the fact that life is hard, painful. Where's the beer? What some people call arrogance, Fry said, was partly American optimism, or what he said was a refusal to see oneself in a bad light. He added, if you go to an American bookshop, by far the biggest section is the self-help and improvement. He said people believe that life is refinable and improvable. That's how America works, he said. You adapt and you find ways to improve. You never submit. Hell yeah, he loves that about America. Take that in your British pipes and smoke it. We think we might add here that a lot of people have experienced this, and while harboring the stereotype that Americans are outgoing and confident, those same people might hold a counter generalization that sometimes this positivity climax is a bit too hard. It jumps the shark. And then, within this transposition, it manifests as something deplorable to others. It turns into pride without substance, blind faith, a superiority complex that is bathed only in its own ignorance. Number 2. Money. It's all about money. If you've ever read critiques on Hollywood versus cinema, you'll find that Hollywood is said to be firstly, perhaps only, a money-making enterprise. European cinema, we're told, is more about the art. In an American film, often the happiest of all happiest endings is when they get away with the money. What else could matter? If you want to make a movie in Hollywood, first show bits of it to the most average consumers and ask what they think. Then make the film based on the results. Even if the movie might be greeted with intense dislike by more refined audiences, it's all about cash, goddammit. We won't spend long on this, but America didn't invent capitalism. It's evidently just been very good at it. But at the same time, America embraces free speech, and critics of capitalism and neoliberalism abound in the country. America, the foundation of the United States, was built to have restrictions in place for if or when any behemoth gets out of control and gains too much power. We won't address the complications or merits of this today, but we will say that much of the world thinks America is overly money-centered, more than, say, focused on happiness gained from other means than merely being rich and having lots of things. Number 1.
I don't think it's so much just making money. You know, I got to get money. I need money. It's kind of because there's no safety net in America. You know, here in Australia, if you lost your job, you would be able to pick up, you know, unemployment, you know, the dole, as we call it in Australia, benefits. So, but in America, you don't have that safety net, you know, and we all know about their health, you know, system and everything else of that health insurance. That, you know, we got free healthcare in Australia, you know, free healthcare in the UK. Yeah, we pay through a tiny little bit, you know, 2% tax or whatever it is for our Medicare. There's none of that safety net. You know, if you lose your job, you lose your health insurance, you're pretty screwed. You know, so, you know, Americans work hard. You know, they make that money because they know that if something happens, there's no safety net. You know, it kind of scares me because we got a lot of Americans in our community here on the channel, and it kind of scares me. You know, you hear little stories about stuff, you know, going on. You go, oh my God, I would be freaking out every day thinking about, okay, if this happens, then that's going to happen, and I can't pay for that, and I can't, you know, whereas here in Australia, it's like, okay, if you lost your job, okay, you might be out of work for a little while. We'll just pick up, unemployment benefits. If I need to go to hospital, it doesn't matter because I don't need to pay for it anyway. I can go see a doctor for free, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's that safety net here, so I think for Americans, it's about money, but it's about money because they need it. They need that. And I think that's what drives American, where they excel in so many, areas as well, too. So, if you're going to do something, you better bloody do it well, because if you don't, again, there's no safety net. If you want to become a sports star, you have to really become a sports star. Whatever it is you want to do, you have to be the best at it. Because again, there's no safety net. So it I don't know if it's so much about money because they want to be rich. I think it's money because if they don't, there's no soft landing for them. Kind of scares me a little bit too, thinking like that. Having that over my head if I was in America. So, but anyway, let's continue. Let's see what number 1 is.
1. Americans are all fat.
Well, I tell you what. I've been sampling some American food, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you because your food is freaking delicious. I do not blame you. We haven't even ventured into barbecues, which is, oh my God, that's going to be amazing. But we've only done a couple of things, and it's just like, yeah, if that tastes so good, imagine what that tastes like. It's like, oh my God. I can understand why. And your portion sizes are crazy. Let's just put it out there. Your portion sizes are crazy. But I like it.
Europeans and other citizens of the world like nothing more than to show their own superiority by constantly defaming Americans for their ingrained bad habits and slovenly TV-addicted fast food-related obesity. It is a fact that some part of America has a problem with eating, and this has led to what's called an obesity.
I mean, that's everywhere. You can walk down the street of Brisbane and see, obese people. It's not just America. It's, modern cities, modern living. Everything is fast. Everything is high calorie, high fat, processed to the gills. It's just the way it is.
Obesity epidemic that has resulted in widespread health complications. Your average Asian might touch down in, say, Houston for the first time and think they've discovered a land of giants. But America is not the fattest country in the world. It's around the 17th according to the WHO. It's 17.
Damn.
Fattest Western nation, but a lot of other Western countries are not far behind in terms of obesity. Obesity crises are happening in the UK, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, and many other nations.
I told you it's not just America, but it's easy to pick on Americans. Everybody knows America. Everybody knows. Everybody thinks in Australia we're running away from deadly animals. Of course we are, but that's on another story. It's easy. It's just easy, and everybody does it. Picks on America. I'm not, I'm out here bloody defending Americans because, as I said, I've got a lot of American friends now. So I can see it from a different angle now. I can definitely see it from a different angle.
We can hardly say the junk food epidemic is an American affliction only. And on the other hand, many Americans are fitness freaks. It's a fitness-conscious country as well as a nation of couch-bound sugar junkies. Just look at popular podcasts such as The Joe Rogan Show, and you'll see that health, longevity, physical improvement is on the minds of many Americans. You could even go as far to say that this new wave of health improvement is being led by an American avant-garde. But yes, the stereotype of fat America is hardly only imaginary. We could have added more to this list, but we feel if we're to debate these stereotypes in the comments, we might leave it here as it could get confusing. Do you think any of these stereotypes are true? Do you take offense to any of them, or do you think that they're merely criticisms that can lead to improvement? We'd love to hear from Americans and all of you who haven't visited the country but still have an opinion. Tell us what you think in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other show, American Things Europeans Find Weird. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
So that was very interesting. As I said, there's a lot of stereotypes. Stereotypes are all over the world. Doesn't matter, Stereotypes with Australians, we think we've got every animal lurking around the corner to kill you. I mean, that's only half the time, so But I can understand a few of them. If you're coming from Europe, if you're coming from the UK, some of the culture things, with the positivity, even the humor's a little different. You could see how that would be, mistaken for something else. But I don't know. There's a lot of stereotypes in there. I don't know if they're true. As I said, spending a lot more time with Americans in the last couple of years, a lot more Americans I would call friends, met through this community. I kind of see it from both sides now, so I can understand being fat. The food is absolutely phenomenal. It's ridiculous how tasty that food is. And there's definitely more to come for cooking reactions for sure. So, but I understand some of it. Some of it's total just, American bashing because it's easy. Everybody does it. But there's a few comments there. Let me know down in the comment section. I could just imagine what this comment section is going to be like. But anyway, let me know what you thought of that one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you stay safe. I'll definitely see you in the next reaction video. Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?